Well, I'm going to go on a different adventure today. I'm going to take out the Leica Q2 that my friend was very kind to give me for a long-term loan. And it's a 28 millimeter fixed lens camera. You basically get 28 millimeter shot, which is sort of similar to what you'd get in your smartphone, iPhone or Android. But it's not a lens, it's not a focal range that I tend to shoot. So we're going to see how I can do with it. Oh, look at this great lighting. I've done the terrible thing. All right, I'm going to go to Portsmouth, New Hampshire. So because I'm going to be trying a focal range that I'm not especially used to, I decided to pick a place where I take photos that I am very used to. So I'm up in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. It's 15, 20 minutes from my house. I figured I could find some good stuff to shoot. One thing that's really cool that the Leica Q2 has that I haven't taken a lot of advantage of, but I'm going to, is macro. And what that means is you can get up really close and take extreme close-up type stuff. So I'll take one or two macro things while I'm out. So I think I got enough. I am really still not Mr. 28 millimeter, that's for sure. But it is fun practicing. And this is a beautiful camera. I am learning a lot about it along the way. I've talked in other videos about have no shame if you're shooting in auto mode instead of like setting all the manual dials yourself. I think when you finally realize that you want to play with the dials, it's when the photo doesn't look the way you wish it would look, and you have to go about figuring out the settings to make that make sense. Look, I'm not trying to be Mr. Judgy or anything, but if you drive by me in your truck and you pull the window down to do something and I smell your cologne, that might be a little too much cologne there, bucko. You know, some of you might want to know stats. The Leica Q2 is a 47.3 megapixel full frame camera with a maximum aperture of f1.7. I think it goes up to 20 something. It is a camera from, I forget when, but I'll put it up on the screen. It retails now at around, and you should only get it used, but around $4,000 US. And I found it a little more expensive the first time I made a comment about it, but I saw it for about $4,000 in a lot of different places. So that's what you got. That's the Leica Q2. That's the stats and specs. 47.3 megapixels, by the way, is the most German thing I've ever heard. They can't call it 47 because they're cheating themselves. 0.3 megapixels, and they couldn't make it 50, which, you know, everyone would kind of understand. I wouldn't mind lying about the 3 extra megapixels, but no, 47.3 megapixels. So on the 28 millimeter focal length, I can say that to me it's like doing the establishing shot in a movie. Like, here we are in this town, like, look, here's this building. You can get up close, just like I'm up close to the camera right now. This is, by the way, the 28 millimeter focal length. The video is, you can get close. And that's the thing, is if you want to use this to make like a one-on-one kind of shot, you've got to get really close to your subject. So you have to be able to get really close to your subject. It's like anything. The more you practice with it, the more you'll get better at it. I do think there's some interesting dynamics to shooting it. It's not my interest as such. I think if I did even more landscape photography or travel photography, I could see it. Would you want to just walk around with just this? What an incredible camera. You could totally do that. I think the Leica Q2, by the way, the Q2 in 2025, great choice. It's still really capable. You don't necessarily need the Q3. I would like the Q3 4.3, but only for the focal range. This camera really holds up. It is really solid. I need to explore it a little more, but that's where I stand on that. That's where I stand on the focal range in general. I do love how absolutely versatile this lens is, and I love how the image quality of it. The focal range, though, still tricky for me. You could set this thing to auto and be fine and be happy. I ran around today with it on auto for a chunk of it, but then, you know, for instance, a shot like this one, I wanted to blur out the background. So I knew that I wanted the aperture to be a very specific aperture. So I set it to, I think f1.7 is the biggest it can go here. And so I could blow it out. On this photo, what I saw through my lens, what I saw in the playback, I should say, was a little bright. And I was like, ugh. So I changed the shutter speed to make it dark. Now you can change darkness a couple different ways, shutter speed, aperture, etc. I turned shutter speed. That's when you start to realize, maybe auto's not for me. I shoot not manual, but I don't shoot auto either. I shoot, like for instance, aperture priority, where I let the camera handle the shutter and the ISO. In every mode I shoot, I let the camera handle the ISO unless it's a really specific use case. Remember, I like to call ISO sort of the MSG to make something a little brighter when it needs to be. As long as I'm not setting my camera up in such a way that it forces the ISO to go crazy, then I can do that sort of a thing. It was fun to go out. I'm still not a 28mm guy. At some point, I'm just gonna be like, okay, look, this just isn't my range. But oh, what a pretty camera, what a fun camera to shoot. And these images are beautiful, right? I'm glad you were out with me. Let's call it here. Chris at chrisbrogan.com. As always, in between these, make sure you be good to yourself.